welcome back to Brick Gaming YuGiOh. I'm back here today with another video where I'm going to do my first episode of a podcast. So please like, comment, and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider doing so. The goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of next year, and I would love if you helped me out with that goal. And also shout out to all my subscribers for all of your continued support. It means a lot. Now, for this podcast, you can just skip ahead if a particular section doesn't interest you. For this first one, there's going to be a total of 7 sections, which include current meta decks, decks on the rise, as well as new releases, a little bit discussion on Selection 10, what I'm playing, what I'm doing, and then finally COVID-19 and YuGiOh. And I'll go in depth on each one of these subjects, so if there's a particular subject that doesn't interest you or one that interests you more than any of the others, just feel free to skip ahead and find where that section's at. But now let me get right into this. So for the current meta, I want to talk about the top 3 decks in my own personal opinion. And I thought quite a bit about this. I think right now the top 3 decks are arguably, because there is one that people can argue about, but the first one is of course Dragon Link. I think Dragon Link has definitely had a lot of impact on the meta, has really shifted the game, and I think the other decks around Dragon Link, the other top 2 outside of itself, are also really meta defining. The other one being Dino, just because Dino has had such an overwhelming presence as of late, and even for me locally, so many people are playing Dino, and you can just throw in so many hand traps, so many outs, so many things to deal with other decks, that it just is overwhelming. Compare that to Dragon Link, which is more of a combo deck with maybe Gammas or maybe Ashes at most, and maybe right now Droll Lockbird, since that is a really good card. So Dragon Link can definitely do a lot. But I think overall, just power-wise, Dino kind of seems like the more powerful deck. And then finally, Infernoble. I don't really know too much about Infernoble. No one at my locals really plays it. I haven't really played against it too much, or as much as I probably should. And in my personal opinion, from what I've seen of Infernoble, I've seen it do a lot of really insane things, and it can do a lot of really good things. I remember playing against it once back before the most recent ban list, and the deck was just like playing against Dragon Link, which was super nuts at the time as well, or any other deck that can really just put up the whole Hauki 5-Rax board and really just set up like so many negates that you can't play through them. And that was pretty interesting. So Infernoble seems like definitely one of the top 3 decks. And the thing that all of these decks have in common is that they're all combo decks. All of them are super combo heavy, and I feel like for this format, combo decks seem to be a pretty good option. And I think to combat them, the only other option is really just to be playing more like a stun or a control deck right now. Then what are going to be some next best decks? I really don't know at this point. It just depends on like what the next set's release. Like I know Fan Rage is going to be a pretty big deal, but really for upcoming decks or decks on the rise, I think for maybe some of the decks that could be on the rise could be, for example, Altergeist. Altergeist seems to be really strong right now, and I think with Warning Point coming out, that card seems super nuts for Altergeist. Just super nuts, really helps out the deck. And I think Altergeist is a good option. Another good option is Thunder Dragon. I think Thunder Dragon can do a lot. Now, I've played Thunder Dragon quite a bit, and that can have mixed results at some points. You can easily brick with certain hands. You can definitely play out of those brick hands and still be able to do stuff. I've only ever had like 1, maybe 2 unplayable brick hands, but even then I was still able to play out of those hands just by playing my cards correctly and still be able to win. So I think that makes it really good. And I think on top of that, for Thunder Dragons, the other thing is that it can do a lot of what the other best decks in the format can do, just sometimes to a lesser degree. And I think the one thing that's still keeping the deck relevant is kind of Dragoon at this point. Dragoon just really boosts the deck, and it's a card that a lot of decks that are more along the lines of Rogue can't deal with, and sometimes can be a really big challenge for certain meta decks at certain points. Then on top of that, the other decks I think that are also on the rise that can definitely do a lot in this format are some of the old decks that we saw like last year. For example, Orcus, Sky Striker, Salad, all these decks can do quite a bit and all have like good things they can do. For example, Orcus, you can throw in Dragoon, you don't you don't necessarily need Dragoon in that deck, but you can throw in Dragoon, and you can still do insane boards. Combo's super hard. You got the PK stuff back, so if you want to go that route, you can definitely play the PKs in there. I think with the new cards being released, like Orcus PK could be potentially just super nuts. Same with Burning Abyss or PK Fire, as it's more commonly known. I think that deck can also do a lot after these new cards are released, such as Terror Scale, which seems to be super nuts and super broken, and I'm excited to see what that deck does. Sky Striker also. I think it actually had some good matchups this format, just because it's able to still break boards pretty easily. Sure, Engage is gone, and that card's been going for a really long time, but the deck can maximize on the hand traps, can maximize on going second stuff, and there's a bunch of different builds you can do with it, from Mystic Mind build to going second build, where you just throw in like pretty much all the generic side deck cards at this point. Also, I would like to bring up Salad. I think Salad's still a pretty solid option. I don't think it's the best deck by any measure, and I think like it's good. It can do stuff. I just don't feel like it's the strongest deck right now by any means. I think it's being out by every single other deck I just mentioned. But, you know, you can disagree with me, but I still think Salad is one of those really competitive decks that can take people by surprise. I think if you have experience against Salad, it's not even a problem because you know exactly what the deck can do. And that kind of goes for Orca, Sky Striker, etc. If you know what a deck can do, you can definitely play around it. But I think Salad, right now, out of these last couple of decks I mentioned, probably the weakest. I would also like to give a shout out to Madolches and kind of some of the Madolche variants out there, where you can either do going first or going second and still do amazing with them. And there's so much cool stuff you can do with Madolches right now. I think it's a good time to try out decks as well, just with no official events going on. So, like, if you want to try out any of these decks, you have the best opportunity, plus there's always online that you can do through, like, Dueling Book or YuGiOh Pro or the Omega app that's coming out. I don't know if it's been officially released yet. I should probably look into that, but yeah, that seems like a lot of really good options and a lot of good things you can do right now. The next thing I want to bring up is new releases. So, as I kind of mentioned, a lot of decks that are I mentioned that are getting upgrades. One of them that's like the set that's going to really help out a lot of archetypes is Phantom Rage. Phantom Rage is sick, and it's coming out November 6th, so it's not too far away, like 2 weeks about, which gives you plenty of time to decide if you want to invest into it. But I want to bring up some of the most exciting things in my opinion. The top 3 most exciting things in my opinion is, of course, number 1, Terror Scale. I think that card's going to be really cool and really possibly shift the meta. Also, I've heard that you can do FTKs with it, which is degenerate, but I doubt people are going to use it for that reason. Just, well, be proved wrong when the new set comes out. But I think Terror Scale is a really good card and support that's well needed for that archetype. I still don't think they, like, for bringing back Bardiche, I mean, Bardiche is busted. I just don't think it does as much as it used to, at least from what I've seen. I think it's still a good card and something to play around with, and for PK Fire, I think it's still really good. Next card I want to mention is AA Zeus. That card makes Zodiac so good. In my opinion, Zodiac is definitely on the rogue end of things, but AA Zeus kind of brings him up, not to meta, not in my opinion at least, but then I could be proved wrong again, but I think AA Zeus is a well-needed support card for any XYZ deck or any deck that can make XYZs, and I feel like AA Zeus is just really, really good. Also on top of that, with AA Zeus, you could basically play it in any deck that utilizes XYZs, which is amazing. I could be overestimating it right now, but I think the price-wise, it's going to probably be one of the more expensive cards from the set. But I still think it's worth picking up if you ever plan on using a deck utilizing XYZs. So AA Zeus, definitely a good card. Definitely very excited. Next archetype, not even card, archetype, and this is the most exciting thing for me from this set, is Myutants. Myutants, I'm trying to pronounce it correctly. I think it's Myutants or Mutants. It doesn't matter at this point. Someone's going to figure out the best pronunciation. I have no idea. But Mutants seem really, really fun. honestly, the build that I would want to do with them is mutants, or my mutants. I'll figure out which one I want to go with. But I think the deck that I'm super excited to see it be used in is Thunder, or Chaos or Thunder Dragons, or together. I mean, doesn't matter how you do it. It just sounds like a really fun, interesting archetype, and it seems to have like a really cool playstyle that I haven't really seen like a playstyle extremely similar to this yet, and I think it could just be really fun, really splashable engine. Also, all the cards in it seem at least decent. At least decent. Like, there isn't like a single card that I would consider just outright horrible trash. Every single card seems like it has some relevance to the archetype and could be utilized in any matchup, which is really exciting for me. I really want to play around with that. So I'm just super excited. It's really cool. And I think all of the, like, you could do rank 8 stuff with it. You could do, like, a whole bunch of banish stuff. Like, you could probably do a really cool, like, Necroface deck with it. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas, but I'm super excited for that. Also coming out, some other sets that I think are going to be really good are going to be Gold Series. Gold Series, obviously, like, there's been a lot of rumors with it at this point, and there's a lot of things that are going around and a lot of possibilities for what are going to be in it. But I'm really hoping for that Eldritch Golden Lord reprint. I'm really hoping for that Golden Lord reprint. I really want to play like, Lightsworn, basically Lightsworn Eldritch for a very long time now. And to kind of bring that up, like with Eldritch, I feel like that's a really fun deck, and I feel like it's really like medium. I think medium decks are always good. Maybe not the best decks of the format every time, but medium decks always are able to put in work. And if you're good at like at least some level of technical play, you're going to do amazing with those decks. I think using Eldritch and having Eldritch more accessible to more people, I think that's just going to really improve the game. I like it when cards or decks are accessible to more people, always for in person, and I think that really would just help out if it gets a rarity reprint. Doesn't matter if it's the same rarity, whatever, doesn't really matter to me, just as long as it's more accessible. Then I also want to bring up the Blazing Vortex set, and the one thing I'm really excited for out of Blazing Vortex will be Metal Foes support. Like, I feel like Metal Foes have deserved support for a while now, and back in the day, I was really all over Metal Foes. It was my deck of choice for a very long time. I did amazing with it. I think my final record with them at, like, my main locals was 5 weeks undefeated, maybe more than that. I remember it being at least 5 weeks undefeated. I was doing amazing when that deck came out. Once I finished it, it was like the most fun deck I've ever played up to that point. And with a deck that really helped me break into a more competitive mind, where I was like, okay, cool, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know how to play this. I know how to play out of that. And also ABCs were also really popular when they came out. And so I was playing against so much ABCs. And I think ABCs was definitely a really strong deck at that time. But I feel like Metal Foes was just overall a lot better, at least for the time period. I mean, now Metal Foes, what do they even do? But I'm just really excited for that. I think the new support's super nuts, especially the Link. I know a lot of people, when they first saw the Link, were like, oh, that card's trash. Why would you play the Link? That card, it points sideways. And my response to that is, well, if it gets popped, you reborn it, which is super nice. And when you reborn it, you get 2 more arrows opened up. So literally, you can just make that card off of Rescue Rabbit plus a special summon or anything along those lines, and then you just get more ways to pendulum summon out. That can be used as a combo deck now. It can go back to the old, not so much the old days, because, you know, obviously you wouldn't want to play Cleese or some of the other stuff that was played back then now. But you can go back and actually like, kind of experience how strong the deck was, maybe in a little bit of a different way. And also, I don't think Electromite's going to get unbanned at this point. I'd love to see Electromite unbanned, but just too good. I think Konami's substitute for not unbanning Electromite is the new Link that's coming out. And I think the new Link that's coming out is a lot more fair and a lot more balanced than Electromite. And it still does the same thing for Metal Foes. It's just more in archetype. And I like it. I really actually enjoy every single card released for the Metal Foes deck. In one way or another, I think some of them are weaker, just depending on how you play it. But overall, it's really good. Plus, you have really easy VFD access in Metal Foes now, which is nuts. Nuts for that deck, to be honest, because that deck's never had anything that's like that good, except for like maybe Infinity back in 2016. Nothing that easy to make. So that's really cool for me to see. and I'm really excited for that type of stuff to be released. Next, I want to just briefly touch on Selection 10. For Selection 10, we're getting a lot of archetypes have been announced. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but I'm just still holding out hope for aliens getting more support. As I discussed with some of my guys from locals and some of the people on YouTube, honestly, aliens only need like 2, maybe 3 cards of good support, just really good support. And after talking to them, we kind of narrowed it down to the best support for them would be a field spell or a continuous spell, and that would be super nuts. Just a field spell or continuous spell that grabs aliens, either adding them to your hand or summoning them or giving you an additional normal summon. Like, just an archetype stuff like that would just completely change the deck. So, either a continuous or field spell that can do something like that. Then also, a new extra deck monster. It's kind of debatable which one would be better, but either a Link 3, because depending on the variant you play, you can do a lot with a Link 3 alien monster. Or the other option is finally getting an XYZ alien outside of King of the Feral Imps. Like, that's not an alien card, and it's probably the best XYZ support the deck has ever gotten. So, I would really like to see something like new, at least in the XYZ or Link category, that could just really help improve the deck. Doesn't really matter how it improves the deck, just as long as it improves it better than what it's at right now. And so those would be the 2 biggest things, I think. But I think also just removal, like easier removal than what the deck has right now. That's also something that needs, like, even if it was like a continuous trap or something, easy. Or maybe a counter trap, something that prevents your opponent from just steamrolling your deck. That would also be nice. Just small stuff like that. I think the deck just needs more ways to get access into the deck and have a little bit more power. But literally just 2 or 3 cards like that, and the deck's completely different than what it was, and it completely changes what the deck can do. Then for future videos, which I kind of want to bring this up very briefly, for future videos, I'm planning on definitely doing like more deck profiles. Probably not so much Thunder. I've really done a lot of Thunder deck profiles, and unless something like significantly changes with the deck, if I want to do any updates with the deck, I'm just going to do a combo video, and if I change anything major with the side deck, I'll mention it in combo video. I think that's just going to be a lot more easier. And also, like, the Thunder Dragon deck profiles really don't change too much from video to video. It's like 1 or 2 cards most of the time, unless I completely change the deck. So unless I'm completely changing the deck, I'm just going to do combo videos where I kind of get more in depth with it. But I do want to do some Lightsworn and Zombie deck profiles, or even the combination of the 2. So expect Lightsworn Zombie type of stuff to come out. I'm just finishing up the decks right now, finalizing the build, so expect those. But if you also have any suggestions for videos, I love hearing video suggestions. And even though a lot of the time, like, video suggestions, I don't get around to them immediately or super fast, I will get around to video suggestions, as you guys have seen in the past. It just takes me a while to like know exactly and decide exactly how I'm going to do it, and finding maybe some cards that might be missing, stuff like that, or talking to people at local to get their help and opinion. So yeah, but just expect new stuff to be coming out. If you have any suggestions, once again, I would love to hear them, and it would really help me out. And then finally, I kind of want to just briefly touch upon a more serious issue, which is COVID and YuGiOh right now. I know a lot of people don't have locals right now, and a lot of people are only experiencing locals through like online or like online tournaments, and that's really cool. I think that's really good. But for those people who are going back to their locals now, or who have been back at their locals and have been able to play in person, I just want to briefly touch upon some of the more serious things along those lines, since COVID-19 is pretty serious. The first thing I want to mention is, of course, hygiene. Just have good hygiene, wash your hands. That should be just standard practice at this point. Maybe I would suggest having a mask, just standard practice things. But I think that the more thing that you should be more aware of is just like when you're at locals, touching other people's cards, going through their binders. Like, obviously everyone has their own life. Some people are in school, like I'm in school right now, I'm in college, and I know a lot of people, work, stuff like that, but just wash your hands after you go through someone else's cards or after a duel. I would highly recommend it. Also, hand sanitizer is, of course, important for YuGiOh tournaments, and also just follow the guidelines of your locals. Just follow the guidelines that they set in place. I know that this doesn't apply to everyone, of course, but, just want to see you guys all doing well. Just want to see my subscribers be in good health and be able to, you know, participate in Yu-Gi-Oh, not get sick, all that type of fun stuff. And I hope you guys are all doing well as well on top of that. But yeah, I think that's going to pretty much conclude this first kind of podcast style video. If you guys liked it, please let me know. Like, comment, and subscribe. Of course, if you haven't subscribed, I would highly recommend it. I think it's really good to subscribe to my channel, since I kind of do a lot more informative content and a lot more competitive, or a lot more, I guess you could say, serious content than other people in some respects. But I hope you guys do enjoy it. I hope you guys did kind of find a lot of the topics I touched on interesting. And I will see you guys all in the next video.